So now you're telling me that as we get it rolling here on a Monday morning, another huge news week ahead. The goal for Team Joe Biden was to announce a cancer diagnosis to try to take some of the heat off of the pressure Democrats and Team Biden have been dealing with based on all the reporting that's been out there about his cognitive issues stemming from his term in office. And that was supposed to quash and put the kibosh on the idea that Team Biden and many in the Democratic Party were not being honest brokers about the mental acuity and the health of the then president of the United States. That's what this news yesterday was supposed to do. Are you kidding me? Because to me, the news yesterday on a Monday morning that Joe Biden now has aggressive prostate cancer, that news does not help the case. It does not take the heat off those who clearly, willingly, and wantingly covered up Joe Biden's cognitive issues, mental issues, and clearly health issues during his time in office. In fact, it does the opposite. In fact, what it does is just make it the icing on the cake that Joe Biden was in no position during his 4 years in the White House to be the leader of the free world. Politics aside. Okay, this is not about what you think the tax rate should be. This is not about what your view is on foreign policy, whether or not, we should tax overtime, tax tips. Throw it all out the window. You had somebody in the Oval Office at a critical juncture in this nation's history, coming out of COVID. Of course, things that happened during his time in office, nobody could have predicted. Russia-Ukraine war. You had China, of course, continuing to try to become the global force on the planet, with a guy in the White House who anybody with 2 ears, 2 eyes, a half-functioning brain could figure out was not all there. And now we come to learn that Joe Biden is in a position, or was in a position when he was in the White House, that we know the cognitive decline was clear as day. And now we know physically he was not there as well, like he needed to be. It did not just show up over the weekend that Joe Biden has been dealing with aggressive prostate cancer. In fact, I can't help but wonder whether or not this is something that was a well-timed news dump by Team Biden. He got a lot of heat Friday after we got off the air for the Robert Hur tapes that dropped, where he clearly was not in a position to know what was going on, where he was, what he was saying. His timelines were all off on his late son, Beau Biden. Remember, that was the report that controversially came out, a year and a half ago. And you had the doctor, Robert Hur, come out and say, listen, Joe Biden is not in great shape. He's not in the position that he needs to be in. Robert Hur served as the U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland from 2018 to 2021. And the audio from the special counsel exposed Joe Biden as a guy who was not totally with it at the time. That's what came out of that audio. And if you didn't hear it, it was released on Friday. This is just a little snippet of what it sounded like. And then 2 days later on Sunday, Joe Biden's team announces that he's dealing with aggressive prostate cancer. I don't think that's a coincidence at all.
Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And
Beau Biden died in 2015. Joe Biden asks Robert Hur about the date that he's referring to. He says 2017, 2018. And Joe Biden says, my son is deployed or dying. Beau Biden passed away May 30th of 2015. So that's Joe Biden clearly not having any idea, a sense of time, with his own son's death. That was the audio that came out on Friday. 2 days later, of course, they drop, hey, Joe Biden's been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, the first question is, okay, he's got a really bad case of prostate cancer. The man was the president of the United States. Okay, he wasn't in a position to be one of these guys who's like, I'm not going to the doctor. I'm not going to the doctor. And then at 80 years old, shows up at a doctor and finds out he has prostate cancer. That's not how it goes. Okay? Nobody gets more medical treatment and more medical testing in the world than the president of the United States. So it's very difficult to believe that this just happened to come about in the last, certainly not few days, certainly not few months. It is more than likely that Joe Biden has been fighting this or dealing with this prostate cancer for multiple years, going back to, of course, his time in the White House. So now this looks like another cover-up. And this is not what the Biden team is going for, but it's impossible. With the way that they protected Joe, and the media, of course, doing its job as well to protect Joe during his time in office, it is impossible to not come to the non-biased conclusion that this is something Biden's been dealing with for many years, and he spent at least a portion of his time in the White House with prostate cancer. This is Dr. David Shusterman last night on News Nation. Did a great interview, saw it drop on social media, and here's what he had to say.
Well, most likely he had prostate cancer for a long time, and aggressive prostate cancer such as this at age 80 grows over a long period of time. I mean, usually it takes from the first diagnosis of prostate cancer to spread would take 5 to 10 years, even in the most aggressive form.
So that's a doctor on News Nation last night, David Shusterman, saying something doesn't just get to this level. It takes 5 to 10 years. There's no way that Joe Biden's doctors were just like not giving him PSA tests and suddenly here he is out of office. Whoa, this guy's got aggressive prostate cancer. Are you buying that? I'm not. I mean, if you are, please tell me why at 913-408-7957. But I just find that to be an impossibility. And Shusterman also went on to note this.
Very unlikely that someone could get annual checkups and not notice a PSA elevation over the past, but this is what I typically would see in a VA hospital where a patient hasn't had medical attention in 10 years, presents to an emergency room with bone pain, and then they find that it's metastatic prostate cancer. But in the modern age of medicine, especially the fact that he was a former president, he had intensive state-of-the-art, care where we can see prostate cancer, 10 years in the past.
Biden's Gleason score of a 9 means the cancer is likelier than others to grow and spread. It is by definition aggressive. You don't necessarily know how bad that is until you get a PET scan. But it is nearly impossible to think that Joe Biden just in the last few weeks realized that he has prostate cancer. Now, regardless, I don't wish ill will on the man or anybody. We all know people who have dealt with prostate cancer, fought it, didn't win that fight. I mean, it is nasty, it is aggressive, and it is an ugly cancer, and that's why men need to be tested as early as possible. But all that being said, if this was intended to be that thing that the Biden team released on a Sunday to garner sympathy, to move the conversation away from the cognitive decline, I think it just added to what appears to be a massive cover-up of this man's health during his time in office. 913-408-7957. And who is the villain here as well? We'll get to that. And also what happened in Kansas City over the weekend. That was a big celebration. All on a busy Monday, we get it rolling on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
Well, most likely he had prostate cancer for a long time, and aggressive prostate cancer such as this at age 80 grows over a long period of time. I mean, usually it takes from the first diagnosis of prostate cancer to spread would take 5 to 10 years, even in the most aggressive form.
Dr. David Shusterman last night on News Nation after the breaking news yesterday that former President Biden is dealing with an aggressive form of prostate cancer, which has metastasized to the bone, according to the former president's personal office. So the question is this supposed to basically shift the narrative away from where it's been the last few days, which was the cognitive cover-up, or is this just part of the conversation regarding the cover-up of Joe Biden's health during his time in office? 913-408-7957 on a Monday. Ed's in Gladstone. What's up, Ed?
Hey, this just irritates me to no end. Every
Careful,
year
easy, man. It's 6:20 on a Monday.
You got me all fired up. I'm going to have to calm down. But they have these big press conferences every year. Oh, the president had his physical, and this is what we found. He's doing great. He's 80, whatever, 78. And it was just out and out lies, both with the cognitive and with this prostate stuff. And it's not. I mean, Joe Biden is a demented old man who needs a map to find his way out of a bathroom. It's the enablers that need to be brought to, and I don't know, brought to justice? Not really, just exposed.
Yes.
I mean, it's just beyond belief that they would stand up there. And again, they said the same thing about, his cognitive stuff. It's just out and out lying. And you wonder why people don't trust the government. Well, gee.
And why they have almost no faith anymore in the media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy.
Oh, well.
All right. Hey, good job there.
Right.
Good job, my man.
Thanks for getting me riled up this morning already. Thanks. All right.
All right, Ed. Nice job. Don't forget this. Dr. Kevin O'Connor, then President Biden's personal physician in February of 2024. This is his quote. President Biden is a healthy, active, robust 81-year-old male who remains fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. The evil person in all this, I feel bad for Joe Biden. I do, just on a human level. I mean, yeah, he was, frankly, a terrible president, but I feel bad for the man just as a fellow human being. I have zero sympathy for Jill Biden. Jill Biden is the one who I keep coming back to in the wake of all this news coming out in the last several days and saying, we saw this with our own two eyes, but how you could subject the person that you theoretically love the most in your life to this level of embarrassment, thinking somehow, some way you're helping this person, that somehow you're doing a service for your country, when she full well knew that wasn't what was going on at all. I mean, she had the firsthand look at it. And she sat up there and lied to the American people, saying, oh, yeah, Joe's great. I'm reading my book in bed and Joe's staying up late. Oh, man, I can't keep up with the guy. You look at Joe Biden for 2 seconds, you knew that was a lie. And she pushed it. She pushed it publicly and she pushed it privately. And what kind of spouse do you have to be to subject your loved one to this, John?
Yeah, the implications is there, but it's like more of a conspiracy. I would think other people might gang up on her and say, hey, Joe's not doing well.
Exactly.
Or vice versa,
Somebody had to be the adult in the room. And whether Jill Biden was addicted to power, fame, fortune, I don't know. Hunter was worthless, but you think that Jill would be the one as the wife who would put an end to this. Let the man go out with some grace and dignity or whatever's left. And she was the one pushing it the entire time. Paul in Kansas City. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Pete, you finally got it. You and Joe Scarborough agree. I was watching him this morning while you were talking, and he's saying the same thing you did. He says, I can't understand how during his annual physical that a PSA, because I'm 64, I get a PSA on my annual physical every year. And if the PSA goes up, you go into an MRI, you go into a biopsy. There's protocols that your urologist does. This thing is Scarborough's saying the same thing you are, Pete. He's like, this isn't right.
Well,
there's no way they did not know.
Here's the difference, though. Scarborough's coming around because he's trying to save whatever credibility he's got left. Whereas anybody who's got a half-functioning brain saw the shape of the president over the last few years and said, this is not right. Something's off here.
That's right.
You know?
And I hope the president recovers fully. I really do.
Of course.
And, God bless him. But this is another scandal on top of another scandal.
Absolutely. I mean, I hope he does okay. Absolutely. I want the man to live as long as he possibly can. Let's go to Steve in Kansas City. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Pete, they're all in on the payroll. I'll give you a quick explanation here. Jill, the whole family was getting paid. So I want Joe Biden to recover too, but this is the clumsiest cover-up ever. I guess there's a clip floating around in 2002 that he admitted he had cancer. But what I want to find out, the substantive issue in this, is I want to find out who's running the auto pen. Biden only signed one executive order the entire time he was in presidency, and that was at the very end. So let's have Jim Jordan focus on who is running that auto pen for every single order that he didn't sign. This is just, he was the head of an operation. He was disposable. You're right. It is a shame what Joe Biden did to him, but they were the granddaughters were getting paid by the Chinese or whatever. If you follow all this stuff, so we're never going to prosecute that. But I want that auto pen prosecuted. I want someone to get to the bottom of that stuff.
We know that, of course, the Biden family, how much the granddaughters are on the mix, I don't know. But we know, of course, his brother in particular and his son made some nice profits being related to Joe. And maybe that was part of the game. Maybe. It's hard to believe it wouldn't be. But how long did the game have to go on for? That's what remains to be seen. This was back in 2022. Stephen brought this up. Joe Biden said this.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
That was 2022, and everybody just assumed it was a Bidenism. Maybe he was telling the truth. I got 30 seconds, Dave in Overland Park. It's yours, buddy.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more sinister scenario. How about the puppet master, who is really the president, knew about it, kept it quiet from Joe and Jill, saying, we're going to get rid of this guy as soon as he gets out of office. We don't want him to write a book. We just want him to disappear. We've used him. He's no good anymore. Let's just not do anything about it until it's too late, so he quickly goes away. That's my scenario.
Well, that is sinister. I'll agree with you on that, Dave. That is sinister. I'm not there, man, but appreciate the input. Next, the biggest story in Kansas City is one we all have to cheer coming up. We should all be celebrating an awesome weekend in Kansas City. Second straight weekend that KCPD is just kicking ass and taking names. And I'm here for it, man. This is 5 years in the making of this police department seemingly having to operate with one arm tied behind its back. And the Band-Aid has been ripped off. And it feels like those days are over. Now, I'm not going to sit here and celebrate too much because politicians can ruin this stuff real fast. You arrest the wrong guy, somebody, who fits a certain profile gets wrongly detained, and suddenly, there's a total about face around here. But over the weekend, KCPD went to town. Outstanding job by everybody involved. And they shared this on their Facebook page. This would have been Friday night. And it got thousands of shares. They wrote here, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, we will not tolerate those who break the law, trying to hijack our streets. Overnight, officers arrested 19 suspects. They towed 36 vehicles, issued 76 citations for activities related to stunts, sideshows, takeovers, and they also recovered 5 firearms. Kansas City streets belong to all of us, and we're doing the work to show you. Our enforcement of these illegal acts continues. We thank the Missouri State Highway Patrol, Jackson County Sheriff's Office, Clay County, Missouri Sheriff, and KCKPD for their assistance. So this post from KCPD got thousands of shares over the weekend, 2.3 thousand shares on Facebook. It's up on my Facebook page, Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio. You can see it there. 2,900 comments and 9,000 likes or loves. No one's angry. People aren't like, how dare you arrest these schlubs?
How dare you?
And they've got these just badass pictures of them arresting these guys with these helmets on. And this is exactly the kind of stuff that you want to see. FAFO, baby. That's what it's all about. And this is half a decade now of, I think, pent-up frustration from KCPD and many folks saying, let us just do our jobs without this woke, ridiculous city council getting in our way and making us try to operate with one hand tied behind our backs. And it feels like it's finally over. Now, we'll have the chief on, Stacey Graves, at 7 o'clock. She'll be here in less than a half hour on KCMO. And I want to get another update from her on how this weekend went. But they have implemented this new entertainment plan. They are arresting these thugs who are doing sideshows and street racing while people are trying to enjoy a nice night out and spend their money in Kansas City. And Kansas City is finally figuring out that we've got to stop this. We can't continue with this because the city is going to be hollowed out. And I can't help but wonder when it's Mayor Lucas or anybody else at City Council. That Daily Mail headline may have actually been the thing that woke up some people in this town, where they referred to Kansas City as a Mad Max-style hellhole where locals are scared to go out after 8 p.m. Like that, yes, it was a headline that, needless to say, was overblown, right? There's no doubt about it. Midwest City's downtown is now Mad Max-style hellhole where locals are scared to go out after 8 p.m. That dropped in the Daily Mail on May 7th.
That's how you do it in the Big Apple, too. Isn't it?
Yeah. Even the New York Post was like, whoa, that's a little much. But the Daily Mail got its point across. And that went viral, of course, here in Kansas City. It went viral around the world. And I think for people like Quentin Lucas, who live in a world of social media fodder, maybe more often than they should, that was a moment where it's like, wow, this is embarrassing. And I wonder if part of Mayor Lucas's approach here, too, is like, if I want to have any political future, like any whatsoever, I can't be the guy overseeing the town where headlines like this are screaming across the globe. I can't. You Google Kansas City, you're going to find this Daily Mail piece. Got thousands of shares, thousands of comments, and it is obviously worldwide. You don't want this. You don't want to be the mayor who's in charge of this. And that's why Quentin Lucas has taken a very strong approach as well. He posted on X on Saturday afternoon, "We ain't playing. Strong work last night by KCPD, arresting those causing harm on our streets, towing vehicles, and bringing calm to the community. We'll keep it up until these activities subside." Well, I love this guy. What have you done with Quentin Lucas? I mean, like, this is great. This is exactly what I'm talking about, man. Let's go. I'm fired up seeing this. Now, yeah, is it 5 years too late? Sure. Do I wish he had the back? I'm saying all this somewhat tongue-in-cheek. Do I wish he had the back of KCPD for the most part of the last 5 years? Absolutely. Will I say better late than never? Sure. No, I will do that. Absolutely.
Show some RESPICT.
So as we sit here now on a Monday, I'm all about what KCPD is doing in the entertainment districts because this is what will bring people back. This is what's going to get people excited or at least open to the idea of coming back into Kansas City, enjoying their time in Kansas City, and spending their money in Kansas City because this is all about an economic play here. That's the goal, driving economic activity in Kansas City, Missouri. And if Quentin Lucas can do that just by allowing KCPD to do their jobs, and then, of course, you got to make sure the prosecutor's office is doing their job as well in Jackson County, then you got something to work with. 913-408-7957, our text line and our studio line. on KCMO Talk Radio. Let's go to Jim in Blue Springs. What's up, Jim?
Hey, you're right about Mayor Q being worried about things, but he's more worried about the new prosecutor jumping him in political hierarchy because she's doing her job, which is helping the police, and he was the one for 5 years doing nothing. So, he's got two things to worry about.
Well, here's what I would say. It does seem like Melissa Johnson, the prosecutor, is doing as good of a job as she can do right now, taking over for Gene Peters Baker. You're right. Now, is he worried about Melissa Johnson jumping him on the political hierarchy around Kansas City? Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to say he handpicked her, but Melissa Johnson was Quentin Lucas's director of public safety the last few years. He endorsed her to be the next prosecutor. And the one thing, the biggest criticism I had of the mayor the last few years on the crime issue is that he didn't use his bully pulpit to criticize Mean Gene, the former prosecutor. Why he didn't do it, I don't know. Was there a political reason for it? We'll never know. She's gone. She's leaving town from what I heard, and she will be a footnote in an ugly and violent part of Kansas City, Missouri history. But for Quentin Lucas, he clearly picked somebody who he thought could do the job. Melissa Johnson appears to be doing the job pretty well thus far. Now, we got to keep on her, and we should all be making sure she stays on it. But if she's now pressing the right charges and putting the right charges to these people and takes a no-holds-barred approach, this city is going to be much safer, John.
Certainly her name will be associated with the cleanup.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes, it should be. And
I think JPB and Rex have got a timeshare out there in Arizona, by the way. That's where she's headed. But anyway, Melissa's been getting busy.
Gene Peters Baker and Rex Archer, two names that we don't want to hear in this town unless it's...
Why didn't they hang around?
Yeah.
You get free lunch.
Thanksgiving. Boy, I love Thanksgiving.
That's the only time I want to hear Rex Archer's name on this show or in Kansas City media anywhere in the years to come. Two people who should pack their bags if they haven't already, leave town, and never return. Rex Archer and Gene Peters Baker. You feel bad for Joe Biden. You obviously, I do. I think we all should sit there and say, we hope that Joe Biden somehow figures out a way to beat this aggressive form of prostate cancer. But I have zero sympathy for his wingwoman in all this, Jill Biden. Jill Biden, in the wake of this prostate cancer announcement from yesterday from the president of the United States' medical team, continues to make Jill Biden, that's Dr. Jill Biden, look absolutely awful. Jill Biden may go down, and I've got to ask Bill O'Reilly this because he's the historian around here. She may go down as the worst first lady, just from a character perspective in U.S. history. I know Hillary's like, wait, hold my beer. Hold on a second, okay? But what Jill Biden appears to have done to this old man who was not functioning properly is put him through hell and embarrass him on the global stage. We don't know how long Joe Biden has been dealing with prostate cancer, but it seems very unlikely that Joe Biden's medical team found out about this in the last few days. They put in a statement yesterday. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, I suppose it's possible, but based on the medical history of Joe Biden, the covering up of that medical history by his team and by his family, is there any reason to believe that Joe Biden, who is as tested for medical issues as anybody on the planet the last few years because he was the president of the United States, just happened to stumble upon prostate cancer at an aggressive stage on Friday? That's so unbelievable. And if he's been dealing with this, along with all of the mental acuity issues that he clearly was suffering from during his 4 years in office, this makes Jill Biden look even worse. Don't forget, Jill Biden was the one who, after the debate in June, where Biden didn't know up from down or left from right, they'd go to a post-debate rally, and Jill Biden treats him like I do my kindergartner when she comes home and, you know, has a piece of paper where she's learning how to write her name. And I'm like, great job, Claire. This is fantastic. That was Jill Biden back in late June after that horrific debate with Donald Trump.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the... And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied! Yes.
Such a cute soundbite.
Wow, we dodged a bullet with Dr. Jill and Grace Walls.
Yeah.
Man.
We did.
No, the mind boggles, though, as you sort of think of this cumulative. You go, yeah, there's this. And then you go, wait a minute, way back to, and you start thinking all of them yourself. You know, the whole situation.
This was an absolute, utter embarrassment. And Jill Biden comes out of this looking horrible. If you have dealt with, I mean, certainly, God forbid, you've dealt with a spouse dealing with issues like this. But for most people, it's probably going to be a parent. You think about what Jill Biden, who is supposed to love this man more than anybody in the world, did to this guy. That clip, it's even worse when you watch it because Joe looks like he doesn't know where he is or why he's standing on that stage in that moment. And Jill was the one who, I guess, was watching that debate and didn't come to the obvious conclusion of, wow, we're done. It's over. Let's go to Delaware. You know, I don't know how much time Joe has. Maybe it's 5, 10. Who knows how many years it is. But let's go live our lives. I love this man. I don't want to see this for him anymore. It's embarrassing. To not come to that conclusion says a lot about somebody. It's not on Joe. It's not. I mean, when you deal with people who are dealing with these issues, think about it. I mean, I'm God willing, obviously in a situation where I'm too young to be dealing with stuff like this. But for many of you who have dealt with parents who, you know, you got to take away the keys. I think Keatsman was talking about this a few weeks ago. He had to do this with his own mother. That can be for some people a tough conversation. But you know you have to do it. Not just for their well-being, but for the well-being of those around them. Those that they know and those that they don't know. Joe Biden had to have the keys taken away, not just for his own sake, but you would think that that would be the first thing that would come to your mind if you love this man, but also for the sake of the country, for the sake of the world. It is so beyond obvious that Joe Biden was not in charge of anything towards the end of his term in office. We know full well about the auto pen. And Jill Biden appeared to be one of the ones who was like, no, we're going full steam ahead, until they literally had no other option. Until basically Obama and Schumer and Pelosi said to Jill Biden, it's over for you. You're done. There's no money. It's all drying up. And you can go ahead into the fall with this bloodbath coming with Donald Trump, but there is not a shot that we are giving you a dime to make it happen. And that's when she had to basically pack up the tent and go home. And this says everything about the worst wife in White House history. That's what history should write about. 913-408-7957. This morning on Morning Joe, of all places, MSNBC, because the media obviously is trying to totally do a mea culpa here. Joe Scarborough had on Dr. Zeke Emanuel, who talked about Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis. Here was what they aired on MSNBC this morning.
You're an oncologist, obviously incredibly respected. You believe that it is likely, just for those just tuning in, you believe it is likely if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh yeah, He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
That was Zeke Emanuel, doctor, this morning on MSNBC, talking to Joe Scarborough. Of all people, Joe Scarborough going down this road. 913-408-7957. Jonathan's in Kansas City first up. Good morning, Jonathan. Go ahead, my man.
Hey, Pete. That's the thing. That's the thing I'm getting at. You know, I don't know tons about cancer, obviously not as much about this oncologist, but I know it's generally a progressive, degenerative disease. So generally, like, it's not like a car accident where you get it and you die the next day. You get it and it develops over time. So the fact that it's this advanced means he's had to have had it for a while, maybe even before he ran for president, certainly while he was president. And the other thing is, you know, what they always say is a lot of your health, you know, part of it is physical, but part of it is mental. Like, if you're too stressed out, that actually they've done a lot of research that makes things like cancer and heart disease worse. Mm-hmm. So like you decide, okay, let's say they knew he had cancer for years. One of the worst things you could do is put you in one of the most stressful jobs in the world. And it's like, okay, like you need to resign or not run for president in the first place and work on, you know, recovering at home and taking care of yourself, you know?
You're spot on, Jonathan. Thank you. That is something, too, that came up last night from a couple of doctors that were also making the news rounds yesterday, where if Joe Biden was dealing with this prostate cancer for a period of time, and if this is something that he was potentially getting treated for, what could that impact have been on his cognitive issues, right? That is absolutely something that now needs to be explored. So the Biden team, I think, in part announced this on Sunday because this book from Jake Tapper is coming out tomorrow. And they wanted to say, hey, it's time for a little sympathy for old Joe. And it's like, no. This is just adding to all the issues and cover-ups that you guys apparently committed during 4 years in the White House. That's what this is about. And I've got another doctor who talked about some of those cognitive issues that we'll play for you and also get to your calls at 913-408-7957. Coming up next on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio. So if Joe Biden was dealing with this prostate cancer while he was in the White House, which frankly seems impossible for him not to have been dealing with this while he was in the White House, you do not just wake up on a Friday, as Biden's health team alleged this past weekend, and have aggressive prostate cancer when you are the most medically watched human being on the planet. What could that have done to his cognitive abilities? Well, here was Dr. David Shusterman on News Nation last night.
I want to ask very quickly, so much has been made of his apparent cognitive decline. Is there a possibility that either the cancer itself or any treatments he was undergoing in secret could affect cognitive function of a person?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what happens is when prostate cancer becomes, like, say you get treated for prostate cancer and then the prostate cancer recurs, what you would do is you would start someone on a testosterone blocking hormone such as Lupron, and because Lupron acts to lower your testosterone, it gives you kind of like symptoms of depression, lower energy, fatigue. So there's a lot of things that go with being on Lupron treatment. So Lupron is a class of medicine that just castrates, chemically castrates someone so that the prostate cancer doesn't spread. And so Lupron was likely used.
That was Dr. David Shusterman on News Nation last night. So it's a lot of speculation, but even MSNBC is out there this morning on Morning Joe saying it's just not believable that Joe Biden found out on Friday he's got aggressive prostate cancer. On the text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, shame on you. You're really going to pick this time when he has cancer to berate Jill Biden. That's Dr. Jill to you. You're unbelievably disgusting. You're telling me the blame is not on the doctors. Okay.
He's a nut job.
If you actually believe that Joe Biden's doctors spent years with the best doctors on the planet missing this? I do have that beachfront property in Salina that has your name on it. It's a tough market right now. I'm looking for a buyer. And it's like anything else, like when you have a sick kid. And you've heard, there are millions of stories like this. I mean, we talk about them every year during our Children's Miracle Network, Miracle Day of Hope. When you talk to parents and they say, we go to all these doctors and they say nothing's wrong with our kid. And I just know I've got that motherly instinct. Something was wrong with my child and the doctors weren't catching it. Jill Biden was theoretically going to sleep every night next to this guy. She saw more of Joe than anybody else on the planet. And you're telling me she didn't know something was wrong? I mean, forget the prostate cancer. You can't tell with that. But just all of this stuff, all of his health issues. Telling me Joe is as sharp as he's ever been? You could see it as a bystander watching the guy on television when he would rarely show up. Jill didn't see it? Absolutely. I feel bad for Joe. I sympathize with Joe. When you're, going through these issues, you don't necessarily know what you're dealing with. You have to rely on those who theoretically love you the most to save you from yourself. And that's why, yes, Jill Biden is the villain in all this. Mike and Leewood's on KCMO. Go ahead, Mike. What's happening?
Hey, Pete. I personally have a little experience with this with both myself and my father, who's the same age as Joe Biden, who's had prostate cancer for 3 decades. And it's most likely, in my opinion, I agree with both of those oncologists, that he was probably already on hormone treatment for quite a few years. His PSA would have been demonstrated prostate cancer a decade ago, and for it to get to the level that they're saying it's at now, there's just no way. That's not the way it works. They would have known about that. They would have been treating it years and years ago, maybe even before he ran for office. So he would have had to divulge to the public that he was fighting prostate cancer before he was even elected the first time. And so the public deserves to know things like that. We need to know the health of all of our candidates. And I think I think we need to know the truth of what happened there, because hormone treatment takes away your energy, is exactly what happens. And to me, he was very symptomatic over the last 3 years of somebody that had gone through testosterone depletion. It zaps your energy. You're done for the most part. And then you're on other medications. And so the way his cognitive skills declined, to me, it looked like somebody who's exactly on that. I know a lot about Lupron and how it works and what happens. And so that makes a lot more sense than almost anything.
Thank you for that, Mike. I appreciate it. You're holding up okay with and your father's holding up okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fortunately, Bobby Kennedy is in office, and maybe we'll learn about some other therapies that a lot of people don't know about.
All right. Good deal, Mike. Well, best wishes, my man. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate that. Yeah, don't forget this headline, February 28th of 2024. By the Associated Press, Biden continues to be fit for duty, as doctor says, after president undergoes annual physical. Tammy and Shawnee, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Good morning. I just want to say that I am not buying Jill Biden. I don't buy her. I don't buy the lie. I believe that she did know all along. I think she kind of fancies herself as a modern day Eleanor Roosevelt. Behind the scenes, really the one in power, making decisions and letting him take credit for it. She wanted to keep it quiet so she could keep on riding it, so that she could enjoy all the things, all the pluses that happen when you're president and president's wife. And she wanted to keep on enjoying that lifestyle, not to mention all the money that they apparently made being president. It's amazing how they became so rich while they were in the presidency.
Yeah.
And I think by saying this now, she either thought that the truth was finally going to come out, or she wants sympathy for her husband so that maybe some money can come in and he can have his library, or maybe history will be kind to him. It's all about that.
It's hard to argue otherwise, Tammy. Thank you very much. I mean, there's no doubt about it. A lot of shenanigans involved with that family over the years. I mean, at this point, at the very least, that is undeniable. Joe Biden posting on social media this morning his first public comment since the announcement from his medical team yesterday that he is dealing with aggressive prostate cancer. The president sharing a photo of himself, Jill, and the cat. Wow, the cat got the nod over Hunter in the photo. That's telling. Cancer touches us all. Like so many of you, Jill and I have learned that we are strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support. Of course, Jill made the photo as if she is some sympathetic spouse here. Please. That is the last thing that we should use when we explain Jill Biden and talk about Jill Biden is sympathetic and empathetic. Jill Biden was the one who less than a year ago was saying this after Joe Biden got off of a horrific debate.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
Lie!
Yes.
I mean, that's Claire coming home with kindergarten homework where she properly spelled her name. Hey, you did it, honey. Woo!
And what did Jill do the last 5 years?
Lie! Well done there, Mark. Nice job. Nice job, buddy. Yeah. Every doctor that is talking publicly is saying there is no way that the man who is the most scrutinized from a health perspective on the planet the last few years suddenly realized on Friday that he had aggressive prostate cancer. It's almost impossible. And I'm sorry, but this family does not get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to health information on Joe Biden. The entire story for the last week has been what? This book that drops tomorrow by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson claiming that basically they covered up Joe Biden's health ailments for years, basically the entire term in office. And the media was a willing participant in it. Whatever credibility they had left is shot. MSNBC calling it out this morning, but not on CNN. I'm surprised by this. I am surprised they put this guy on TV. Mr. Potato Head, the human chode himself, Brian Stelter, appears on CNN this morning. And of course, he is giving the benefit of the doubt to the Biden team on this announcement. Here's what he said.
I'm seeing some prostate cancer survivors, people who have lived with this disease, who have been through this, expressing support, both condolences, but also support and cheering Biden on as he faces this. The timing, Jessica, is just extraordinary. We know from the statement from his personal spokesman that Biden learned of the diagnosis on Friday. Well, what was the biggest Biden story on Friday? It was the release of those audio excerpts from his conversations with Robert Hur back in 2023. This was the audio that Axios obtained, almost certainly from the Trump administration, showing memory lapses. And you heard a lot of people on Friday talking about that audio being hard to hear, even excruciating to hear. Biden showing his age on those audio tapes that had never been heard by the public until now. So on the day that story was breaking, Biden was facing this personal news. At least that's according to the statement from his personal spokesman. So you have that as one element of the timing here. And then you have, as you and Paul just acknowledged, this book coming out, one of the biggest political books in several years. Take out our colleague Jake Tapper for a second. This book, no matter where it was coming from, was going to be a very big blockbuster book. And it just so happens two of the best reporters in Washington, Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, are the authors of it. It's already a bestseller based on the number of pre-orders. And so this book comes out in 2 days, but some of the excerpts have already come out. And it's reignited this debate in Washington and beyond within the Democratic Party about Biden, about whether he should have run for re-election at all. So it seems to me, Jessica, this debate doesn't end at all, but it is briefly put on pause as a result of today's news.
No. I can't believe this guy's on TV. I can't. I mean, he is truly a human chode, and he is not a bright man at all. But this is not drumming down the debate on Biden's health and fitness for office. It makes it even worse. The Biden team thought they would basically tamp down the Biden was unfit for office, poor guy has prostate cancer, here's our announcement 2 days before the book, when I think all it does is make that conversation even worse. and make Team Biden look even more deceitful because no one believes for a second that Biden just, woke up on Friday, was feeling a little out of sorts, goes to his doctor, and they're like, dude, you got aggressive prostate cancer. I mean, you've got every guy in this country who wants to live a long, healthy life getting PSA levels checked. You're telling me Joe Biden wasn't? And something that Vince Colonnese said this morning on KCMO. Vince is coming up at 11 after Keatsman. He's been doing a great job, 11-2 on KCMO. He brought up a really good point that I have not seen reported anywhere, and that is that when Biden's doctors were putting out his annual physical reports, traditionally the PSA levels have been in there for presidents in prior administrations. The PSA levels were not reported during Biden's time in office, which I did not realize. It was a fantastic note from Vince Colonnese that he brought up this morning on KCMO, and that interview will be up on the podcast, Apple, Spotify after the show, John.
Yeah, I don't know that we all look through that. What's Bush's, what's Clinton's, what's, you don't think about that. You just say, hey, we got a clean bill of health. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Right? No, I'm objecting to this. It's personal. Joe, this is a personal time. No, you're the president of the United States, so no, it's not.
I totally agree. It's not. Okay? You sign up for nothing being personal when you decide to run and then become the president of the United States. You don't then get to say, this was all personal stuff. You were our leader of the free world. You don't get to play the personal card anymore. Like, there are certain things that when you put yourself into the public spotlight, you have to deal with. On a very, very minor level, it's something that we have to deal with here on KCMO. Never mind if you're running for office and you're the president of the United States, for crying out loud. Wes in Gladstone, you're on KCMO. Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, Pete, none of us should be surprised by this. You've got a party that supports abortion on the day of birth, of sex-mutilating children. They used Biden. They knew he had this cancer. They knew he was demented. They didn't care because they didn't expect the guy to live long. I would bet on it. And you're absolutely right. His wife is a monster for doing this to him. He goes out, he opens the border, does all these terrible things to the country, okay? And they don't care about his legacy, one, because they thought, well, you don't speak ill of the dead, right? But they use this poor guy. And that's the biggest difference between conservatives and liberals. Remember with them, it's party, party, party. It's not God, family, and country. It's party, party, party. And if we have to use you to get what we want, we don't give a rat's ass about you. That's what all this is about, man.
Thank you, Wes. I do appreciate the call. It's not pretty. None of it is pretty, and none of it makes the Biden team, the prior administration, the Democratic Party, or the media look good.